Arts Talk Radio online. Interviews and features on the arts in Holland, in English. Hello and welcome to Arts Talk Radio, based in Delft in the Netherlands. We are the broadcast division of the online English language Arts Talk magazine, which is the sister publication of Stage Talk magazine in the UK. We review arts events of all types, as well as having interviews with those who create the arts, both in Holland and the UK. Arts Talk Radio online.
In this edition, Michael Hasted talks to actor Robert Powell, best known for his portrayal of Christ in the award-winning and internationally acclaimed television series Jesus of Nazareth, directed by Franco Zeffirelli. But that was more than 40 years ago, and now, in his 70s, Robert Powell is still working hard, mainly on stage. In their wide-ranging conversation, they discuss his early career, working in film and television, acting in live theatre, and much more besides. They touch on Jesus of Nazareth, but be warned, there is some very un-Christ-like swearing throughout the conversation. The two men met up for their chat in a rather noisy cafe, and Michael Hasted started by asking Powell what his first screen appearance was.
A very small part in television, with 6 words for a day shooting on Hunchback of Notre Dame, and found myself part of the crowd watching Esmeralda go past in her tumbril, and I had the lines because they were all extras, so I had the line, which was just because I was an actor. Here she comes, here she comes. James Kethlen Jones, who I subsequently worked with properly, was the director, and he cut 3 of my words. He said, I don't think we need the second one, I think just do the first, here she comes. But I'd never forgotten that day in Ealing on that film, one day, because I got lumped with the extras. I was actually an actor, but I got lumped with these extras. And years and years and years later, I did You Never Can Tell for Jimmy Kethlen Jones, playing Valentine as a Player of the Month. And Jimmy and I got on very well, but he did say that he uses that clip from the 60s in his lectures to students about how not to make television. And I said, it wasn't me, was it? He said, no. He said, it was all me. So that was very sweet. I remember going back to my little flat to my girlfriend and saying to her, I will never ever do that again. I'd rather be a waiter. And I've always stuck with that.
And it was just the humiliation of...
it was just humiliating. It was just not... It wasn't what acting should be about. Acting's not about that. Acting is about acting.
Sure.
So, if you're going to do that, I would rather be a waiter. I'd rather be a dry cleaner. I'd rather be a bricklayer doing something proper. Because at least that would be productive. Doing one line in a 12-hour day was not productive for me. It was just utterly boring. So I thought, well, I won't do that again.
But isn't certainly all filming, but a lot of television like that?
Filming is... It's funny you should say that. I live in my own little private world. It has never, ever grasped this... Well, I understand. I understand why, but you kind of want to stand on a platform and explain to people that they're talking shit. Everybody goes, I want to be a movie star. I want to be in movies. I want to do movies. You go, have you any idea? It is the most boring thing in the world as an actor. It is tedious beyond belief. Except if you are working on the films that you wouldn't want to work in, because they ain't going to get you famous. The films that are shown in festivals and whatever, which have actually got dialogue. And they've actually, there is no CGI, there is no action, there is no, giant monsters, none of that. But if you think about it, day after day after day on one of those films, and I did Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor on the Star Wars prequel, which was the most dreadfully boring poo that you've ever seen. But you understood why, because they're acting in front of a blue screen. Waving imaginary swords about and trying to make it alive. That wasn't for me. I had much more fun working for Polish directors and German directors and Italian directors, making films that nobody ever saw. We won prizes for them, but at least they stretched.
Isn't there, to a certain extent, I know exactly what you mean, but to a certain extent, don't you judge it by the end product rather than the actual making of it?
Yeah, I suppose you do. It's just that the only reason people want to be in... I mean, the idiots who want to be in movies, I'm talking about the pop singers who say, I'll be an actor, as if, it's staggering. I had no idea it was that easy. Me thinking that for the last 45 years what I did for a living was pretty tough. And then some 24-year-old coming off the back of one of these talent shows said, I think, once I've done this, I'll be an actor.
But there are people who, I mean, as well who mainly work in film.
Yeah.
I know Mark Lester quite well, who was in Oliver. And when his film career finished, when he was in his early 20s, he couldn't work in the theatre. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't do the repetition. He couldn't do the same thing 2 days running.
No, because acting is actually a really complicated process. Much more complicated. The problem is, like everything else, my job is to make it look easy. And the problem is, people think it is easy because it looks effortless.
Sure.
Because that's what I'm paid to do. I'm paid to make it look effortless, as if it just is happening instantaneously. They don't realise that a huge amount of effort has gone into making it effortless. Television is probably the easiest of all the mediums to work in. Media to work in. But I don't think there's any shadow of doubt about that. Because you have the benefit of film. You can tell a story over a much longer period. So let's say you're doing Tale of Two Cities, you are bound into a 1 hour 20, if it's another maybe maximum 2.5 hour film to tell that major story. In television, you can take 10 hours to tell it. Sure. You can actually do it in depth. You can do a bleak house on it. You can really do some fascinating work on television. And of course reach a much bigger audience.
And it's much quicker to do. You're not spending hours.
Much quicker to do. So you're constantly in a creative mode rather than trying to, you just unplug yourself and put yourself into standby most of the time on a film set. From 1967, I think, probably, to the next 10 years, I was the dog's bollocks. People couldn't get enough of me. I was,
So why were you still playing Salisbury?
Because of the part. Played Royal Hunt of the Sun. But I was also starring in a thing for the Tower of London at the BBC.
But you did some sort of decent stuff for television and film, didn't you? In fact, I saw the other night, I caught a few minutes of 39 Steps, which was a decent enough film.
I did Marla for Ken Russell in 73.
Oh, that was it, yeah, that's right.
I did a film called Secrets for Philip Saville in 71.
How was working with Ken Russell?
Fantastic, I love Ken. Yeah,
I mean, when Marla was sort of more or less at his peak, wasn't it? More or less.
Yeah, and I did Tommy with him as well. So I had a wonderful time. I loved Ken, and I enjoyed working with him enormously. I did a film with David Hemmings called Running Scared, playing the lead in all these films.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was just great. I look at the young actors today who are, taken over the mantle. I think it's terrific. I'm too old to do it now. Thank you do it now. I'm fine.
Did you not expect to sort of continue with your film career till sort of now? I mean, people do it. I mean, people like Michael Caine.
Yeah, but it's just a question of the way things go. I've probably farted around a lot with my career. I just like doing things I like to do. I spent some time in LA in the early 80s and hated it. I did 2 or 3 films but at that time, in the early 80s, if you were English and you were in America, with the exception of Michael Caine and Sean Connery, maybe Roger Moore, unless you were one of them, you played gays and villains. Yeah. Why would I want to do that? I can play better parts in England, and did. I don't want to hang around LA to be 28th on the list. You're never first, that I do know. I grasp that. But I think times have changed completely now. And you've now got English actors in television series over there with American accents. But that never used to be the case.
No.
It just wasn't. It was unacceptable. Now, it's changed. It started with the Irish and the Scots for some reason. Lots of Irish actors seem to be able to make the jump into America, just as the Australians have done. I don't know, it just never... I think Jesus of Nazareth probably didn't help. because it sort of gave with one hand and took away with another, because the Americans at that time. I had a very, very high-powered American agent, Harry Uffland, who was De Niro's agent and Harvey Keitel's agent, and he came to find me. He came to Rome, where I was doing another film for Liliana Cavani, and he came to look for me to put me on his books, but it was a complete waste of time.
Why do you think that was? Were you?
I don't know. They didn't really know what to do with me, I don't think. I think they kept on seeing this image of Jesus.
Well, even now, I mean, I had somebody said to me the other day, well, I just saw Jesus, you know. And how long ago was that? 40 years?
37 years, yeah.
Has that been a millstone?
I've no idea. You know, who can... What hindsight is, I've no idea. I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't done it. I mean, I was doing quite well. I was working for the Royal Shakespeare Company in travesties at the Aldwych, and I had Marlowe on at the Odeon Haymarket when I was asked to do Jesus, so I was doing quite well.
How old were you then?
30. Just coming up to 30.
It's not really the sort of thing you say no to, is it?
No, you can't. You kind of hope that you're not going to be asked. But if you once you've been asked, you can't say no. But you don't really want to be asked. Not, to be honest with you. You can't win. I mean, that's the thing. You can get away with it. But that's if the most you can hope for is to get away with it.
No, you did more than get away with it.
Yeah, well...
I mean, I think that was really...
I think we
claim,
got,
wasn't it? I mean, it was. There was. I don't. I mean, it's a long
I think
time
we got
ago.
away
I don't remember anything bad being said about it.
It is.
And I think you personally came out
years
very
later,
well.
It goes out every year in Greece, Italy, and if I walk down a street at that period at Easter, which I did in Cyprus 4 or 5 years ago, I got recognised, and I didn't beardless, short hair. People stopping me after 30 years.
Does that bother you?
No, it doesn't. No, not really. I'm deeply flattered, to be honest with you, that anything can last that long. It's nice to be remembered for anything, isn't it? Really, I think.
Yes, and I think the thing is not to sort of dine out on it, because I mean there are a lot of actors who've had one success and sort of.
No, I'm just the opposite. We have bets every time I do a television interview as to how many minutes before they bring it up. 37 years later. I'd rather they didn't. Because, you know, the catalogue is pretty extensive now, and I've done rather a lot of other things.
And in the last, 10 years you've been doing mainly theatre?
No, I did. No. After The Detectives, I went back to theatre and started to enjoy myself, and I did a few plays, mostly on the road, but again on the road for a reason. On the road because you get paid twice as much as you do anywhere else. Which
do you enjoy touring?
Nobody.
Or do you tolerate it?
I tolerate it. I don't hate it. This has been far too long. This I won't do again.
How long is this tour?
18 weeks. I won't do it.
And you've done 16 already?
Yeah. So I won't do it.
No.
12, top whack, 3 months. Don't mind 3 months. It's nothing to do with the play. It can be, occasionally. Yeah. It's to do with...
I know, living out of a suitcase and whatever.
18 weeks of sitting in an hotel room.
Sure. You go to some nice towns, but it's not always nice towns.
Yeah,
even in a nice town.
And it's pissing with rain.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Walk around an arcade to see pound stretchers and TK Maxx? Every town is exactly the same.
I know, that's the dreadful thing, isn't it? They used to be different. They used to have a character. I mean, this is, I imagine, one of the better ones, but...
It is marginally. I'll tell you where it was... Colchester was quite nice. And Llandudno was quite nice.
So did you never work in another rep company after Stoke?
Yeah, I did.
For what?
Yeah, I went up to Allen in 1967.
To where, sorry?
Akeborn in
Scarborough.
Before he had the Stephen Joseph Theatre. He operated in the library for 3 months.
That's right, yeah.
And I did a play up there for him, which uniquely is the only play he's ever written. Because Peter Bridge was the man, and Michael Codron were the people who used to take his plays out of Scarborough and put them on in the West End. I mean, it's kind of just a formality.
Yeah.
But this was uniquely the only play that he's ever written that has never, ever been performed anywhere else.
What was that
It
called?
was called The Sparrow,
What year was that?
67. Four-hander. Me, John Nettles, and Lady Stoney, or the to-be Lady Stoney. Lady Akeborn. Forgive me. Heather Stoney, who was then an actress who became Alan's girlfriend, and then wife, and then consort, I suppose, is whatever you are if you are a lady. It's never been done anywhere else. Then I went from...
How did you find working around at Stoke?
No, I loved it. Loved it. It seemed to me the most natural thing in the
But
world.
so that was your early experience?
That's my great training. I had no formal training at all. So in other words, my training, I've counted myself as being a seminal part of my life, that the luckiest actor in the world to be in a job with a director like Peter Cheeseman, who was obsessed with truth and not codding it, and working in the round where you can't. And when we did the Shakespeares and we got a couple of rostrum, we had no scenery, obviously, and an actor put his foot on a rostrum, you go, get your fucking foot off that rostrum, you're not at the Royal Shakespeare Company now. That was it, it was just do it, say it, do it, mean it, don't add.
Yeah, you can't tell lies in the round, can you?
No, you can't. Anyway, so that's where I learned, and then more in Scarborough, and then from there I was in the first company at the Octagon Theatre in 1968.
Was this
The Bolton Octagon.
was this a conscious thing, doing this, working in the round all the time?
No, not at all. I just went where the work was. Just so happened that those are the kind of Olympic, the rings of working with Stephen Joseph in
Sure, one thing leads from another.
Stoke obviously led to Alan Ayckbourn, and the man who ran the Octagon was a man called Pemberton Billings, who was the niece of Hermione Gingold, he's the nephew of Hermione Gingold, who was the mother of Stephen Joseph.
Oh, I didn't know.
So there you go.
But I mean, in the 60s, in the mid-60s, there was this big thing about theatre in the round, wasn't there? And it was, I remember, when Chichester opened, that was, 67, 68-ish, and that was sort of in the round. Yeah, but it's sort of
open stage.
But there was this very much a strong movement towards doing things in the round, or at least horseshoe.
Yeah, I've never thought about it really. It's been always just part of.
Are you more comfortable working in the round than behind a cross arch?
No,
Or does it make no difference?
No, it makes no difference at all, whatsoever. No, what I have trained myself to do is to do this breaking of the fourth wall. I've trained myself to be able to do that kind of thing we were doing here at the celebration of Victorian evening. I've trained myself to be able to communicate with an audience as an actor, and to be able to play off them. And it's a nice thing to have up your sleeve. It means I do Charles Dickens, and I do Jane Austen, and I do. We're just about to do Debussy, and I did Kipling. It's virtually me and an audience.
And you enjoy that?
Love it. I love it, and one of the keys to it is I don't learn it, because I think an audience get confused if you stand on stage and you've got no script and you just say it.
Yeah.
They think, well, why isn't he waving his arms around? Why isn't he doing a bit more acting? If they see you, I know these things, in fact, I know them by heart, but I hold the script and refer to it occasionally. And it just relaxes an audience, because it tells them exactly what to expect. It's a reading. It's a recital. It's a reading, not a performance. And so they go, oh, okay. It just lowers their expectations, so that when their expectations are raised by the show itself, they're well pleased.
And how often do you do those things?
I'm trying to remember. Probably a dozen Sundays a year, maybe 16. somewhere between a dozen and 16, 15. And because they get booked in advance, they do get slightly inconvenient. Because I had obviously a lot booked while I was touring this. I was working a 7-day week, and I'm now I'm going into the West End into Singing in the Rain, which is great because I'll work from home. Which is 6 stops up the Northern Line.
I haven't seen that show. As I said, I have a friend who's in Top Hat. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen
Top Hat's good.
But Singing in the Rain is sensational.
So there's a sort of big rivalry between the two.
Well, because presumably Scarlett and Summer, I mean, they're
two sisters.
Strallan sisters.
And also there was that, because Top Hat, I think they piddled around for too long. They started almost a year ago, I think before Singing in the Rain really got started. And when they started on tour, which was last August, I think, September, they were confident that they were going to get the Royal Variety Show, that they were going to get this, get that, and they piddled around so long that Singing in the Rain took over. It got the Royal Variety Performance. It opened, a couple of months before, and I think they rather missed the boat. I mean, I'm sure it's a fantastic show, but
Singing in the Rain is...
But I think Top Hat had the initiative, and they lost it.
Oh, yeah, they did. Well, Tommy Chambers is an old mate, because I worked with him on Holby City.
Oh, yeah.
So I worked with him for 3 years then.
I mean, he's come on incredibly. I mean, we saw it first. I think it was more or less the opening week at the Birmingham Hippodrome. I think they'd done a sort of technical week at somewhere, but it was whatever. And he was okay, but that's about it. And we saw it again just before they went into town, April-ish, Mayish at Bristol. And he'd come on, I mean, a different actor altogether. And the show was vastly improved, but he had come on. Whatever, it was very good indeed.
I feel quietly proud, because while we were doing Holby, he came and joined the show. And he stayed for a year, then he signed up for another year, and then he signed up for a 3rd year. And he was a lovely boy.
Yeah, I met him.
Lovely boy. And I took him on one side. I said, "You have got to fuck off. Why are you staying here?"
Yeah.
I said, "This is a great show for getting people to know who you are, and to learn a little bit about camera technique and all those things. But the maximum sentence you should do here is 3 years when you're a young actor. Otherwise, you become the part, and it just gets increasingly difficult for anybody to employ you outside here." And I said, "You're better than this. Just do the 3 years and use it, and then dare to go out into the big wide world."
But he was out to work
else.
for a long time, wasn't he, before Top Hat came along?
Well, he had
He did that TV, the dancing thing.
He did the Strictly Come Dancing.
But I think he got the job on the strength of a video he made himself, didn't he? He did that thing with the drums,
but
didn't
that's how he got Holby.
Yeah. Oh, he got Holby from that?
Yes.
Oh, I thought he got Top Hat through that.
No, he got Holby through that video.
Ah.
That video he made as a young man, and rather than send out a CV or a show reel, he just sent that to the producer at... we saw it. She was pissing herself with laughter, and she said, "Have a look at this. This boy has sent this in." And we all went, "Fantastic." She said, "I'm going to hire him." And that was it. Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about... I mean, Holby's a good example. There are a lot of actors who, in the 70s and 80s, were flavour of the month, who are now in soaps. I mean, people like Patrick Maher, Michael Jaston, and to a certain extent yourself.
Let me just explain straight away that Holby City was never a soap. No, it's not a soap. Let me explain. Well, you know this. I don't have to explain to you. Soap opera shoots 25 minutes a day. We shot 4.5 minutes a day. We went 1 hour, 52 weeks a year, once a week. You know, it took 2 weeks to shoot one episode. We worked very hard on that. It was never a soap opera. It's the reason I left because it was starting, and it's lost viewers as a result. The viewers have rocketed down because they've made it soapy. But it was infinitely more truthful.
Because I thought it was a soap.
You see, no, it's not a soap. No,
but in my day, when I was working in the theatre in the 60s and the 70s, there was Coronation Street, there was Crossroads, and people wouldn't be seen dead in those.
No, you wouldn't. Yes, but and I've got to say, I probably would not do a soap opera. But for the very
But a
reason...
lot of good people do them now.
I know they do, because there's nothing else to do. There's no other work. There is no other work. When we were doing Holby City, we took Holby City very, very seriously. We won a BAFTA for Best Series, not for Best Soap Opera. We were never in that
case, I
thing.
apologise.
No. I'm seriously. We won the Best Series BAFTA because it was a television series. It just so happened that we did 52 weeks a year.
Yeah.
But it was taken. We took it very seriously, and we did proper. It was never soap operas cheats. I mean, they just.
But they, I mean, I never watched them, so I'm...
No, I mean, I dip in and out purely and simply just to have my...
What I found, I was checking, I was looking, because this figures I told you about a number of rep companies, I was looking through all my old papers for contacts. I actually wanted to know how many reps there were in my day, and I found an old contacts from 1964, and among my old papers was a shooting script, a camera script for Emergency Ward 10. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, John Alderton started in that.
That's right, a lot of people. It was, but in those days, it was people coming up. It now seems to be people going down.
Well, it was ever thus, Freddie Jones. In that, Freddie hates it.
But he's what, mid-80s?
Yeah, exactly. But it's a.
It's work.
Actors don't. It's work. Actors don't have any money. Actors don't have pensions. What pension has an actor got? When did they ever get paid enough to put anything into a pension? Actors get paid nothing. They have to keep on working because it's not the money you save that keeps you alive, it's the money you earn that keeps you alive.
But there is the advantage you can keep on working till you're 85. If you were a bus conductor, you couldn't.
Exactly. That is the one advantage.
But are you not tired? Are you happy? Are you still happy working?
Yeah, I'm extremely vigorous. I put myself through deliberately, unconsciously, but almost certainly deliberately through Geoffrey Bernard last year, just to see whether I actually could learn 40 pages of monologue and perform it every night, twice a night, on Wednesdays and Saturdays for 3 months, and did, without making a mistake, and I loved every minute of it.
That's an exceptional part, wasn't it?
Oh, it's extraordinary. It took me 4 months to learn. Every day. Only 2 hours a day. But you can't.
No.
2 hours is enough. But I used to learn 1 page a day. I got through it in a month. I'd done it once. And then I started at the beginning again. I went through it again. And then the 3rd month I went through it again. And by the time I'd ended up at the end of the 3 months, it was pretty good. And the 4th month was the rehearsal period. And I was there.
You were off the book for rehearsals?
Mostly, yeah. Had to be. And I discovered from reading Ned Sherrin that O'Toole was the same. O'Toole did that. He pre-learned it. You can't not pre-learn it. It just...
Did you never dry or jump in the performance?
I jumped in the 2nd week. I left out a page. Purely and simply because there was a move that was very similar to another one. And that's all. But that's the only time I ever made a mistake. And I never made the same mistake again, because every time I came to that moment, I reminded myself not to do it.
Where did you do it?
I did it on tour everywhere. We came out of Bath, with David Grindley directed.
All right. Didn't come here, unfortunately.
No, it didn't. We were at Malvern.
It's quite a nice little corner here, isn't it, with Bath and Bristol and us and Malvern.
No, we came out of Bath and we did Malvern and we did Brighton, Cambridge, Richmond in London.
Were there any parts you wish you had played? Any regrets? Think you missed out?
No. I don't think so.
You know,
no, I mean, there are things I would
something?
quite... No, I don't. I did Lear when I was 18.
That doesn't really count, does it?
No, well, it doesn't. But you know what I'm saying. The fact that I've actually done it, even though I was only 18, it was at Manchester Grammar School. It kind of, in a sense, I'm laughing about this. I'm saying this with a sense of the ridiculous. It means that I don't necessarily have to do it again. But I don't think it's my part anyway.
No, but actors tend to go through this sort of chronological thing of parts related to their age and their stage.
I'd probably like to do Falstaff, possibly, one day. Prospero is a part that all actors want to do. What has evaded me, what I've not ever done, I've never done any Chekhov.
I would have thought he'd been rather good, actually, Chekhov.
Yeah, and I've never, ever done it. Isn't that weird?
Yes, it's weird. I thought it'd been very good.
I would have loved to have done Vanya. And maybe one day, maybe before I get too old. Mind you, I can cheat about 10 years, but that's about it. I can't cheat anymore.
The trouble is, you can't lie about your age when you've got a CV which clearly marks you down as starting in year whatever.
I know, which is a shame. And I say to journalists, I say, they say, how old are you? And I go, oh, for fuck's sake, what relevance is that? How old do you think I am? And they say, well, I know. I said, no, how old do I look? And they say, well, you look 60. So I said, right, I'm 60.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm 68, but if you think I look 60, then why would I say 68? Because the casting director will go, no, he's too old. Exactly. If you think I am. When I was doing Holby City and playing this thing, there was a line in it that look at me, I'm 50-something. And this was only 4 or 5 years ago. And I'd gone through all the editors and script editors and things, and there it was, and I thought, and I laughed, and I said to the girl who's playing my daughter, I said, oh, shit. I said, oh, keep your mouth shut. I said, you're going to go giggle when I say this. And I said, let's see if we can get away with it. And I said it, I didn't hide it, and said it. And the director, nobody batted an eyelid. So
but the thing is, with actors, that although you get old, you get a few wrinkles and go grey, you don't actually age that much because people see you. It's like your wife or something. You don't see them getting old because it's such a gradual process that you don't actually see the difference.
That's right. That's so right.
Not wishing to name drop. A friend of mine from the old rep days is Stephen Berkoff. Have you seen him recently? He's got very fat and looks really quite rough. He's 74 next week after next. And I was with him last week in his flat in London, and his wife, on her desk, has got a photograph of him in a gilt frame, which I took in 1970. And the difference, I mean, you would not, I won't keep your number, you would really be pushed to recognise that same person. But normally, somebody like you or whoever, you just see them all the time. It's such a gradual process, you don't notice, and you don't think in terms of, oh, he must be 70 or whatever.
And I've been lucky because I've managed to keep all my hair.
Is it colour? No, the colour's not right, though. The colour's not your own, is it? A little bit of tinting.
Are you serious? Are you really serious? The colour is my own. Yeah. I wouldn't fuck about with that.
Well, in that case, you're very lucky indeed.
You can spot it immediately.
Yeah.
If
that case, you've done very well indeed.
Yeah, it's going. It's silver.
You've got to fit it at the side. But
no, it's silver. It's silver here. If you look carefully,
you've got some at the side. But I mean, I went off it.
No, why would I bother? It's I mean, the fact that it's not the colour. It's the fact you've got it.
Yeah.
Is the advantage. No, I would never colour it. No. I've got to tell you that I'm sort of insulted because I've never
it is unusual
ever coloured my hair. And if you actually, as I say, it's very dark, but in fact it is threaded through now. It's not. It's sort of arrested. It's stopped. It started 3 or 4 years ago. It's threaded through with silver, but it doesn't seem to be.
No, I mean it looks.
It just gives it a highlight, if anything.
Well, that's what I say. I mean, not great, it's just a trick of the light.
Yeah. But it's no. I wouldn't play around. No, I promise you I wouldn't.
No, I believe you.
My hairdresser says that because I used to be cutting my hair for 25 years, and we joke about it.
But it is unusual, be honest.
He says it is unusual because he says that because all his clients know that he cuts my hair, and they all go, oh, that's all right. And his wife is they work side by side. His wife is a colourist. She is a colourist and he is a cutter.
Where's this?
He works from home in Cricklewood, but he used to have a salon. Gave it up anyway. He's a lovely, brilliant hairdresser, and I wouldn't let anybody else really have a go at mine. But he said we had yet somebody else comes in who asks whether she colours it for him, and he said when we say no, he said they don't believe us. I said he said we're rather proud of you that we don't colour your hair. So there you go.
Arts Talk Radio online. Interviews and features on the arts in Holland, in English.